Sean,
Mike?
what is this? A crossover episode?
And then I do the do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, you do that, but I usually cut that out. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to What Is This, a crossover episode of BoJack Horseman. All right, let me do that one again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to What Is This, a crossover episode of BoJack Horseman podcast, starring me, hi, I'm Mike, and Sean.
Hi.
Hi, we're the stars of this show. Welcome. This is actually a little inside baseball, Sean. This is actually the first episode that we've recorded since any episodes have released.
Yeah, I know. Which is crazy.
Right. So thank you to everybody who's been listening. We've had a couple nice people say nice things about our podcast, and more. It's funny because it's more so about BoJack Horseman. They say nice things.
Yeah.
They go, "This show's really good. I'm glad you guys are covering it."
That makes sense.
Right. Our podcast is not going to measure up to the actual show, but
yeah. Well,
Sean,
I mean, give us, season 5 maybe,
Yeah, well, I don't know. The show gets pretty good. We're not going to be able to catch up because the show scales. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We're scaling,
the
but
power
we're just behind.
Is off.
Yeah, we're just behind already. We're like Raditz.
Oh, don't say that.
It's not going to get any better for us. Hey, I could have said Yamcha.
Okay, but which is worse?
Yamcha.
Right.
Raditz at least experiences
but at least Yamcha,
death.
Yamcha sticks around though. Raditz is gone.
But he's like inconsequential.
I guess that's true.
What does he do? He doesn't even play baseball anymore,
Fuck.
Fuck you, Yamcha. Anyway, the episode we're covering today is episode 8 of season 1, The Telescope. It originally aired on August 22nd, 2014, and you know what that means, Sean.
Oh,
it's time to look in on what happened on August 22nd, 2014.
I forgot about this part.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? California Attorney General Kamala Harris married lawyer Douglas Emhoff in Santa Barbara. You may know her as the current Vice President of the United States of America. Congrats to her. The number one song in America was Rude by Magic. And the number one song in the UK was Am I Wrong by Nico and Vince. And I actually took a moment to listen to this song, Sean.
You did?
Yeah. And I know it. And you probably know it too. It's the one where he's like,
live reveal?
Am I wrong? That one?
Am I wrong? Let's see.
Yeah. Am I wrong? I can't see.
I don't know that I know this song.
That's just how I feel. Ooh. I knew it. Like from beat one, I knew it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard this song.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Big pop song back in 2014.
Yeah. You're just a big Nico and Vince fan?
I'm a big Nico and Vince fan. I'm more a fan of Vince than Nico.
That's what that was gonna be my question.
Yeah, I'm bigger into Vince than Nico.
Of Nico and Vin's, which one is a what's the thing from earlier in BoJack?
Zoe or Zelda?
Yeah, who's Zoe? Who's Zelda?
I gotta be honest with you, I don't know which one's Nico and which one's Vince. No idea. No idea. I watched the music video, no clue. And then finally, the second Ebola death in Nigeria, Africa's most populated country.
Woo!
All right, that's what happened on August. Why are you cheering? August 22nd. 2014. So the episode we're covering today, like I said, is called The Telescope. Here's the little blurb on IMDb. When he learns his old friend from horsing around is dying, BoJack tries to mend fences. And boy, does he.
Yeah, boy, does he try.
Yeah, boy, does he try. Sean, what did you think of this episode overall before we kind of dive into it?
I thought this episode was really good.
Incredible episode.
Really caught me off guard on the feels side of things. And also it caught me off guard with the B plot, which we'll talk about eventually.
Yeah, the B plot's pretty good.
It kind of comes out of nowhere, and then it doesn't stick around too long. It's very funny.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I really liked this episode.
I like this episode as well. I think Stanley Tucci as Herb Kazaz.
Okay, I was about to ask who played
Dude,
Herb
we've done this
Kazaz.
like 4 times now.
Have we?
I've told you that it's Stanley Tucci, and then you do the Tucci gang thing every time.
Tucci gang. That's that guy from the Hunger Games, Transformers: The Last Night, Beauty and the Beast, and Spotlight.
Yeah, you do this every time. You've done this 3 times now.
Well, he might be dead now, so maybe we won't do it again.
I don't know. We'll see. But I think his performance in this is actually really incredible.
It's really good.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about it more when we get to there. But basically, the episode starts. It kind of lines up with the previous episode we watched about Princess Carolyn, but it's what's going on in BoJack's world. And we see the 2 different phone calls that Princess Carolyn got during her day. But it starts with the one where he's asking for a job and she doesn't want anything to do with him because he left her alone the night before.
Yeah.
And he picks up Diane and they're going to meet Herb. Todd's there as well.
Which is really good because Todd wasn't there at the end of the last episode. And I forgot that he wasn't there at the end of the last episode.
Right.
So
right, they kind of play with our expectations a little bit, but with Todd showing up there because you think it's just him and Diane, and then whoop, there's Todd.
But then they kind of explain like Todd isn't there at the end of the episode, so like it was funny. It was kind of like a time bomb waiting, right? Like Chekhov's Todd or whatever. Like what's gonna happen?
Todd.
We know that he wasn't there at the end, so what's gonna happen?
BoJack is still reeling from the announcement that Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter are engaged, and you can tell in a couple different times in this episode, and especially at the end. But he makes this comment about how she can't leave him alone with Herb, so no sneaking away to do little winky smiley kiss emojis with your fiance. Congratulations on being engaged, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can tell he's just like, he's really struggling with that because, as we talked about before, he thinks Diane is the person for him, but he's just a mess. So it's not.
Yeah, it's not going good for BoJack.
No. So he tells the story of how he kind of screwed over Herb, and we get this long flashback sequence, first to the 80s, then the 90s.
With the 80s new wave song.
Yeah, beep boop bop boop beep boop. This is the decade that we're currently in, the 80s. There's a lot of like funny like references in both these flashbacks, and I love
sure.
He does the he gets invited to go see Back to the Future by Charlotte, and he goes, I love that movie, except for all the dated references. We get it. The 50s were different. And then they proceed to just make those kind of references the rest of the flashback. Like, he immediately says, I'll have a new Coke.
Yeah, he immediately says that. And then the next, like, cut is to him being like, that guy only tipped me $0.25. That's barely enough for 3 gallons of gas.
Right.
Like,
yeah. What'd you think of Herb's stand-up?
I was just caught off guard that Herb was who Herb was. I don't know. When we were doing all of this before, I got the vibe that Herb was like almost a father figure to BoJack more than anything, and not like a friend where things had gone wrong. So when Herb turned out to be just like kind of a middle-aged, like normal, like BoJack's age, he didn't look like that much older. I was like, oh, okay, this is a different relationship than I had expected.
You get the vibe that he's maybe like a couple of years older than BoJack, but not much, right?
Yeah.
And they really paint BoJack as very naive during this time period.
So he's definitely like mentor-ish, but
but also a friend.
But yeah, more a friend than a mentor, in at least in the ways that I had expected.
Do you think that we need kitchens and bathrooms?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Controversial opinion, Mike. I'm gonna say yeah.
I think the people who write this show are pretty good comedic writers, and I love that whenever they do stand up, it's just god awful.
Yeah,
like it's on purpose, but it's just it's so funny to me because even BoJack stand up is awful, but it's kind of like that's kind of what stand up comedians were like doing around like the 80s and 90s, like hey, your boyfriend looks like a piece of shit. Come get with me. I'm kidding. Just kidding. I'm not. Like that whole bit is like, you've heard, if you've gone to a stand-up show in that time, you've heard people do that kind of shit.
I've fucking seen people do clips of that online today. What do you like while doing crowd work?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I paid as much attention to Herb's stand-up set because I didn't know it was Herb yet. But I
forgot
did,
that they introduced Herb in previous episodes.
Well, yeah. Also, his stand-up bit is happening like kind of
In the background,
in the background a little bit, and then I didn't pay attention to BoJack's though, and I was like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, what are you doing? But what I expected everyone to be like, dude, shut up, right? But I don't know. Everybody seemed to really enjoy his stand-up.
Yeah, everybody laughed for some reason. But yeah, during the flashback, we basically get an idea for their relationship. Herb gets scouted by big execs at the network, and they invite him to a party. And with Charlotte, who we haven't talked about Charlotte much, but she is the deer who is dating Herb, and she's played by Olivia Wilde.
Okay, I was also going to ask who was voicing Charlotte.
And she, they kind of, the three of them are kind of just, palling around and being broke comedian type people. And she gives him this speech at this party about how she's worried about how he'll handle fame, right? And how LA's a tar pit, and she doesn't want to see him sink, basically.
Yeah,
because he's still the naive BoJack, right? And so she can kind of see like what his transformation is going to be if he does hit it big, right? And she's spot on, but they also kind of leave this little like teaser of, BoJack maybe is sweet on her a little bit.
Yeah.
And she kind of like teases it a little bit, like, what if you would have met me first,
Yeah, they definitely set that up for like, especially later in the episode, they talk about her again.
Yeah, they bring her up again.
This is going to come back,
Yeah, and you don't cast Olivia Wilde as
a
character if you're not planning on using her, right?
Yeah.
And so basically what happens is Herb gets to make his show, and it's called Horsing Around, and it stars BoJack. And they have this scene where they say when they're ruling LA, they're gonna come back and high five each other. They have the telescope, which is the name of the episode.
Yeah, the fucking planetarium or whatever from
which is actually
one from like a bunch of Hollywood shit.
Right, it's actually a pretty important place in BoJack for a number of reasons. One because of this.
Yeah.
And there's an episode later on that really I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But we flash forward to the 90s and we have generic 90s grunge song, something from Seattle,
Well, I think you missed.
What did I miss?
We kind of jumped over at the end of this like moment when they're when they're at that like that place.
Yeah, he kisses BoJack, you're right.
Yes. And I was like,
he kisses BoJack and he goes, I'm not gay. And he goes, well, I'm not either. I just, got overwhelmed in the moment. And so because back then being gay was one of the worst things you could do according to the general public. So there actually, I read this fact on IMDb that I don't know if it's a trivia. I said fact. Trivia. I don't know if this is real or not. But it says Herb's scandal is a reference to the George Michael scandal in the 90s where he was discovered having sex with a man in a park bathroom.
That sounds like what happened to Herb in this.
You're right. So I don't know if that's true or not. There's no citation. It's just a trivia on IMDb.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, that was a thing that you could get quote unquote canceled for back then, was being gay. So, because we'll get to the scandal in a second, but basically the problem isn't that he was doing it in public, it's that he's gay, right? That's actually the real problem with these people.
Yeah.
It's not that it was a public display, it's that he was gay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we flash forward to the 90s, and BoJack is just insufferable at this point already. Horsing Around was a big success. He's arguing about the scripts, and he's wrong.
It's really timely, Mike, that we're covering this episode right now. Because he says, that was one pitch, and I didn't say they're all thieves, but if you're too scared to start a national dialogue, maybe I'll take my ideas home.
Yeah.
Which, like, I won't draw any comparisons directly. But, I think listeners
You're saying BoJack could have been wearing, like, a black mask when he said that?
Possibly he could have been, like, on a podcast. Yeah. Like, there's some interesting comparisons to make.
Yeah, he says a lot of things in this period. He says he wants to have a rap and Herb promised him he'd make him a rap.
God,
He
yes.
says he's going to, and I quote, jerk this limp script until it's hard. Go out there and jerk this limp script until it's hard.
So I have a question because there was a reference that went over my head, and I guess I can also just Google her. But who's Kathy Ireland? Because when he did
Ireland, she was she was a model, and if I remember correctly, she was like Sports Illustrated woman. She's an author now. Good for her.
She was in an episode of Totally Spies.
She was a supermodel in the 80s and 90s, initially known for appearing in 13 consecutive Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues, including 3 covers.
Consecutive?
Yeah.
She was on Boy Meets World.
Yeah, I love Marv, his agent.
Yeah. That was fucking funny.
When I die, bury me in Kathy Ireland. And he's just like moaning, and Bojack's like, Marv, hey Marv. I like they subvert us with the Princess Carolyn call.
Yes,
because you find out she was actually Bojack's former agent's assistant or secretary.
Who was voicing Marv? Do you know?
Oh, no. Let me.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
Oh, it's Paul F. Tompkins. It's
no,
Mr. Peanut
okay,
Butter.
Yeah.
That's funny. I saw his name. I saw Paul F. Tompkins on there, and I was just like, "Oh, Mr. Peanut Butter," and I didn't realize the name under it. But yeah. That's him in a dual role there. He shows up a couple more times, and he's pretty funny to me. I
thought he was funny in this first appearance. I liked it.
Yeah. Bury me in Kathy Ireland. It's like, and Bojack's like, "You're right. She is attractive." Because he's still like naive, nice guy Bojack. But yeah, so basically Bojack wants to star in Secretariat. It's something he's wanted to do since he realized he wanted to act, because Secretariat, as we find out later, as a horse, was a big deal to him personally. Yeah, I know that's a sentence you can only hear on this podcast. He's up for the role with Val Kilmer.
Yeah, which I left that. Well, I guess this is also the 90s. Has Val Kilmer done Batman yet in this?
So they don't tell us exactly what year it is, but Val Kilmer was pretty hot in the mid-90s, right?
Yeah,
he had a lot going for him then, and then it tailed off pretty quick for him. And I think Batman was probably the peak of that. So who knows? Find out Herb has his scandal where he's caught having sex with a man in a public place. They don't go into a lot of detail about like what they mean by a public place, if it was just a bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
But basically, Bojack was told by his agent, hey, to lay low, don't do anything stupid. And then he sees that news report and he goes, oh, shit. So Herb comes to him and says, hey, man, they're going to try to fire me, but if you threaten the walk, they won't. And Bojack says one of my favorite things here. He goes, Bojack, I'm gay. And he says, no doy.
Yeah.
And then he says, I know we haven't been close these last couple of years. I'm going to save the no doys because it seems like there's going to be a lot of them. No doy, a classic 90s phrase. I love how much of an asshole
Bojack is constantly.
Right. He is. And, Bojack basically, he's still, him and Herb have grown apart. Herb.
Yeah.
I said Herb with a V. Herb have grown apart. But,
you
they
contracted the two words.
Yeah, I did. Herb and Marv. They... still are friends. At the end of the day, they're still people that care about each other. I mean, Bojack wouldn't be where he is without Herb, so he agrees to help him. For now. And then we're met by Angela Diaz, who is voiced by Angelica Houston.
Okay, hang on. Let me look up Angelica Houston.
Oh, you don't know Angelica Houston?
Not by name. I might...
Pretty,
Oh, yeah, okay, I know who this is. Yeah.
Pretty celebrated actress.
Yeah, I just didn't know her by name.
We met her a couple times in the episode already. She's one of the execs that's like watching Herb and then meets with Herb at the party. But basically, she gives this speech to Bojack about how she's gonna fire Herb, and the best part of it, I'm gonna read the quote here because he keeps trying to interject, and she goes, "I'll tell you when it's your turn to talk again. Look, you're a star, but this is really just the beginning of the BoJack Horseman story. You can choose whatever path you want, but I'll tell you right now, you don't win awards, and you don't get to be on the covers of magazines, and you don't get to play the lead role in Secretariat movie by being a good friend. What's that old expression about the show must go on? All right, it's don't be an idiot. So what do you think, BoJack? That's a courtesy question. I already know what you think because I have conversations like this one 5 times a day. I know who you are, and I know you've already made your decision. But if you want to surprise me, now's the time to do it. Bojack, no response. That's what I thought. You're doing the right thing. I know it's hard, but if Herb's really your friend, he'll understand. Now you've got a show to go put on, so I'll let you get ready. This was a good conversation. Productive. If you're lucky, I'll never talk to you again.
I think this is one of like the best scenes in the show so far.
Yep.
They're sitting there talking. I don't think it cuts once. I think it's just like a wide image of them talking. Angelica Houston's performance is fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it while I was like listening to her. I was like, damn, this is really nailing it. And the music in this scene is also really good. Like this scene just fires on every cylinder.
Yeah, because he has good intentions. He wants to help Herb here, but like, you know, what she's saying makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, it's not going to do Bojack any good professionally to kind of stand up for Herb here. But yeah, it's just kind of that haunting, you know, kind of story you hear about Hollywood. Like this shows a lot about Hollywood and the inner workings, and you know, you're seeing that here with this character who reportedly made pantsuits a thing.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, so then Bojack does. He continues, and Herb gets fired, and then we flash back to the present where Diane and Todd and Bojack are in the car, and Todd remarks, "Wow, this house is way bigger than yours." Herb did pretty good for a guy that you screwed over, you know. And he tells Todd he has to turn around the car just in case they need to make a quick escape. And Todd does the Austin Powers bit where he's trying to make a 3-point turn.
Yeah.
And
Can we just talk about the B plot now? Like,
yeah, let's just
get
do
it
it
out
now.
of the way.
Yeah, we need a little levity here. So Todd is doing the Austin Powers deal, and he can't get out of the driveway. And then these two young girls in bathing suit tops and masks come up with a gun.
Yeah.
And they're trying to rob Todd, and Todd makes the joke more like a 300-point turn. Am I right? And the one girl giggles. And anyway, they're trying to get him to turn the car around, but he can't. And then the one girl's like, "You're doing great, Todd." And then you find out they're called the Celebrity Stealer Club, and the one rule of Celebrity Stealing Club is don't fall in love.
And the other girl is like, "That's your rule for every club."
It's a good rule. And then Todd goes, "Hey, I'm sensing some tension. Why don't we take off our masks?" And so the one girl takes off her mask. And she goes, "There you go. I took off my mask." He goes, "Did you?" And they go, "Oh." So yeah, there's that, and then they end up laying out in the lawn talking about their feelings. You think Todd's really gotten to these girls, and
he goes, "I can't. My favorite part is like, I don't remember what exactly he says, but he's like, I don't normally let my guard down. Did you hear that? He let his guard down."
Yeah, and then they pistol whip him. The Celebrity Stealing Club strikes again.
Yeah,
And they
his
run away.
wallet.
Right as Bojack and Diane go to leave the house. So Todd's face down in Herb's lawn for the remainder of this episode.
And that's Chekhov's gun. Or
Yes.
Chekhov's Todd.
Chekhov's Todd. So not a huge B plot, but an enjoyable one. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was funny.
No, yeah.
I don't think we see the Celebrity Stealing Club ever again. I could be wrong.
Damn.
But they set it up like they're a big thing. But I don't remember seeing them again. But maybe I'm
it's just
misremembering.
world building.
Right.
We're filling out the different organizations and stuff that that
huge
reside in
organization
the world.
here, the Celebrity Stealing Club. Anyway, back to the A plot where Bojack gets to the door and Herb answers and just literally is letting Bojack have it.
Herb's humor is exactly my kind of humor, so it works.
Mhm.
But like, oh boy, does it also like. He's like, "You look like shit, Bojack," and he's like, "You don't look so hot to yourself," and he's like, "I have cancer," and I was like, "Oh god."
Well, he says, "You look like shit. What have you been eating your guilt all these
Oh
years?"
yeah. God.
And he goes, "Yeah, you don't look so good yourself. I have cancer." Like just like it's like, hey, I can make jokes about this, but don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's really tense and funny and awkward, and it's the same kind of humor that I enjoy for sure.
And he looks past Bojack at Diane and goes, "What string of bad decisions placed you in Bojack's orbit?"
Yeah. And then she's like, I'm writing a book about BoJack and shit. What does he say? He says, fuck. He says, what's the title of your book? I don't remember what he says, but he basically just continues to insult BoJack as they go in the house and start to eat.
And as they go in the house, he's like, come on in. You're letting out all the cancer.
Yes, you're letting out all the cancer.
Jesus.
And it's very awkward at the meal. And he asks him about his silverware. And he goes, yeah, it's fine. And he goes, well, I have a much sharper knife in my back that you could use. And BoJack goes, yeah, I should have seen that one coming. Who asks about silverware?
Yeah.
But Diane, being the smart person that she is, knows that, there's a reason they were friends. And she sees the Vitamix on his counter, and she knows that they'll both just riff on that, so she brings it up smartly, and they start to have a good time, and they have the Juice run the media.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the fucking timely episode.
Yeah, Juice run the media, and so they start to get along, and it seems to go pretty well. And he excuses himself because before that he sees the picture of Charlotte. And he says, yeah, we're still in touch. You should reach out to her. She'd like that. And that's just like planting a little seed there.
Yep.
With BoJack.
I'm curious to see if that will come back up before the end of this season. Because I could see that being something that maybe happens like in the finale.
I will neither confirm nor deny what you're saying.
I'm excited.
Herb excuses himself and says, hey, it was really good. It was actually really good to see you, BoJack, but I need to rest. Hopefully I wake up. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But this isn't good enough for BoJack, right?
Well, he gets urged on by Diane, who's like,
well, and that's interesting too, because I was watching it this time and I was like, man, she could have left this alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But she pushes him to try and find closure. And that's when he gives another one of his, he's like, or is this a thing where we're talking about her, but really we're talking about us? And she's like, no. And he's like, yeah, not good. I didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, and he's so influenced by her at this point that, because I think, there's a alternate timeline or whatever where BoJack walks away and feels pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Herb feels pretty good about it too. But then what happens is
the episode takes a turn.
The episode takes a really harsh turn where he goes back in and apologizes, and Herb does not accept his apology.
And he explicitly says that he refuses to give him closure.
Right.
Which is rough.
Yeah. But it's, hey, he's being honest.
He's being honest, and it's understandable, I think.
Well, and he makes the point that it's not even about the show. It's about BoJack abandoning him as a friend.
And not just like abandoning him as a friend, but abandoning him. And like, this isn't explicitly said, but I think you can pretty easily read between the lines on it. But abandoning him as a friend in like his moment of greatest need, really. Right? When everybody's coming after him for being gay, for something that he can't help, like, and like we talked about, it really wasn't the public thing, the having sex in public thing that people got upset about. It was people being like, we can't have a gay guy on TV.
Right. We can't have a gay guy on running the family show.
The family sitcom. Right. So for BoJack to abandon him then is like the worst possible time, Right. It's not even like friends growing apart, which they mentioned that they had been earlier in the episode, right? Like, we haven't been as close these last couple of years. It's not even like that. It's BoJack knows that Herb is about to go through hell, and he drops him anyways.
Right. And Herb even says, I don't care about the job. I did fine. I had a good life, but what I needed then was a friend, and you abandoned me, and I will never forgive you for that. Now get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah. They also talk about earlier how Herb like met President Clinton and he started a charity and everything. Like, it seems like he's done pretty well. He did
pretty well despite this scandal seeming like it was ruining his career in life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he has this big house.
But I mean, he's also alone in this big house. All he has is a nurse to. So like that's not something that's like explicitly brought up, but I think you can, again, like, subtext or whatever.
For sure.
He's talking about, I was fine. I had a fine life, but like, did he really? And like, how much of that was his friend abandoned him, And like, would it have been different?
We're going to learn a little more, just slightly more about what Herb did in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it's supposed to do is kind of mirror BoJack in a way,
Mm-hmm.
where I think one of BoJack's struggles will be his like lasting legacy, and I feel like they try to paint that Herb had a lasting legacy, although the horse and around thing fell through, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll see more of that. BoJack goes to leave and he finds the telescope, and they get in a wrestling fight over the telescope. He's wrestling a guy with a fucking IV connected to him.
Yeah.
And the bear nurse and Diane pull them away. Herb says the other best quote of the episode. You know what your problem is? You want to think of yourself as the good guy. Well, I know you better than anyone, and I can tell you that you're not. In fact, you'd probably sleep a lot better at night if you just admit to yourself that you're a selfish goddamn coward who takes whatever he wants and doesn't give a shit about who he hurts. That's you, BoJack Horseman. And he says, I don't know why I came here. And Herb says, yeah, you do.
Yeah. Oh, God. Which, like, from what I've seen of the show, I don't think he's wrong about BoJack. You know,
No.
That seems pretty accurate.
No, and we're going to explore that a little more in the next couple episodes as far as, like, you know, what necessarily makes someone a good person, right?
What I'm curious about, right, is this is a really early point to be bringing up what I think is BoJack's, like, core character flaw, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you would think narratively, right, from this point, through the rest of the season, it would be about him trying to become a better person. But I also know, like, him, that it would, you'd think narratively, right, this thing gets said to him, and he would be like, I'm gonna prove that he's wrong, and I'm gonna, like, do these actions that will show that I'm not a coward, that I care about other people, all this other stuff. But what I also know is that this show has 6 seasons. So,
right.
I know that his character flaw can't be resolved in the next couple episodes, so I'm very concerned about how it's gonna go.
Yeah, the strap in, my friend.
Yeah,
we got quite a ride in front of us. The final part of the episode is BoJack and Diane leaving Todd in the lawn, and driving and talking about how awkward it was. BoJack gets the call from Princess Carolyn that we saw on Nothing Matters. He pulls over the car because Diane says something which is kind of insensitive. She's trying to make light of it, but she says, hey, at least you'll have, like, a good story to tell at his funeral.
Yeah.
Not super great, Diane.
Not helping Diane.
So he pulls over the car because he seems to be having some sort of anxiety or panic attack. And she gets out of the car to try and console him. I don't remember exactly what she says. But
I know she doesn't really try to console him. She says, this might not be the best time, but I've had to, like, take a leak for the last however long.
Right. That's right.
Because she wanted to go to the bathroom back in the house, and he said, no, stay here.
Right. Well, and then she also asks, she says, hey, if you don't want me to put this in the book, I won't.
Yes, she does say that.
And he goes, no, it's like we agreed, warts and all. And then I don't remember what she says. But then he goes in and kisses her.
Yeah.
And it is instantly awkward.
Like, she instantly pulls away.
And is just, like, shocked that he would even do such a thing. You know, really had no idea what he's been getting at recently with all this. And the show does this brilliant fucking thing where it plays the first chord of the song as the camera just snapbacks out 3 times. And you can just feel, like, his despair in that moment. Because not only did he have this horrible time and has to live with this guilt he has with Herb and it didn't get resolved, but then he also fucked up, like, the one, like, relationship that he has right now. Or at least decent relationship that he had instantly. And it's just, you know, the same old song and dance for Mr. BoJack Horseman. But the way they frame it and the way the camera pans out on every chord leading into the ending song is just, it's brilliant. I love that.
Yes.
It really makes you feel the weight of all of it.
It's a heavy ending. It's a really heavy ending.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it feels like in line with last episode's ending. Because last episode's ending was the one where we found out that it was Princess Carolyn's birthday.
Yes. And you are 40.
Yeah, you are 40. So that was
Happy
those
birthday,
two,
Princess Carolyn.
Yeah,
you are 40.
Those two both. And you know, when you think about it, these moments are happening at the same time.
Yes. Yes, they are actually. You might even say they were synced up, right?
Yeah. So,
which is, I never thought about it that way before, but you're absolutely right. I think the intention was probably the same moment that her phone's telling her happy birthday is the
Bojack
same
having
moment
this
that
moment.
he's having this, right?
Yeah.
So
they're both really hitting, I think their lowest lows so far at this point, which is narratively very well executed.
I agree. This is a great episode. One of my favorites for the first season, at least. Maybe not overall, but I don't know. It's probably up there overall because it's just a very, very poignant episode. And it's like, I've talked about like other episodes being like, oh, where you're like, this shows something different, but this is really where it starts to punch you, to punch you in the gut, you know?
Well, it just takes like this really hard left turn, like you said, about 5 minutes before the episode ends.
And a lot of people point to this episode specifically as when this show starts to get good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it has merit before this. Like I don't. There's a couple episodes that, you know, they're hit or miss. Some of the jokes are hit or miss. The pilot in general is just basically like Family Guy light a little bit, you know. But this is where it really starts to play with like narrative structure and a lot of different things, and then just the way it gut punches you most of the time is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. So like when you keep saying it just gets better, is like, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it really does. I'm excited to keep going. I wish we've been kind of busy. I wish we've been able to get through this quicker. I mean, to you guys listening, it's all been, you know, the last, you know,
however many weeks, 8 weeks or whatever.
8 weeks. So, but we got 3 episodes left in the season. Is there anything else you want to say about the telescope? I mean, we didn't do any category stuff, you know?
I do have them, though. Okay. So let's run through them.
All right, go ahead.
Mike, what was your favorite animal-based joke of the episode?
You know, it's weird. When I watched this episode twice, and I didn't think about that at all. I do like... Actually, you know what? I'll take this time to mention this. The bit where the bears don't speak English.
Yes.
Someone commented on the episode where I brought that up.
Okay.
And said, isn't there a bear later on that does speak English? And there is actually a bear.
Okay.
That we meet that speaks English. But I think it's more like what you described, where it's just like, instead of it being like bears can't communicate, it's that they just speak a different language from typical animals or humans. So I do like the nurse bear going, you know, like that. The bear noises are hilarious to me. What was your animal thing?
Mine was the security dog outside like the studio, where they like pull up the car and he starts barking at them, bark, and then they put up their ID and he goes, "Okay, go ahead."
Yeah, you're right. That's a good one. I also like, you just reminded me when they're at the party. I don't remember the name of the dog, but they go, "He's the one who sits."
Yeah,
and he sits, and then
he really is.
He is a good boy.
Yeah,
I like that one too.
What was your favorite bit overall in the episode?
I like the bit, we didn't talk about this one, where Bojack's about to start telling the story, and then that's when they reveal Todd. He's like, "My movie's over."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Watch another one." And he goes, "I don't want to." And Bojack's like, "Where were we?" And she goes, "You were telling me how you backstabbed your friend, but then you took time to yell at Todd." So basically like showing that he's still like shitty to his friends.
Yeah.
I think that's a funny bit.
Mine is when Charlotte and Bojack pretend they can't speak English, because it has one of my favorite lines in the episode, which is "Buongiorno, Bon Jovi."
Doesn't Bojack just say like salutations or something? He goes, "Shit, that's English."
Yeah. He does. And "Buongiorno, Bon Jovi" really fucking got me.
Buongiorno, Bon Jovi. Can you imagine Olivia Wilde just like seeing that?
Yeah, right. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was your favorite quote from the episode?
It's probably the Herb after the fight, when he you know really lays into Bojack and tells him who he is. So although the Angela Diaz one is a good monologue too. This show's really good at those like monologue quotes.
Oh yeah. So my one of my favorite kinds of humor is when somebody is clearly saying something really fucked up, but they don't say the fucked up thing. They just kind of work around it, and you know they're being an asshole, but it's like the reaction to them being an asshole or whatever, instead of seeing them actually be an asshole.
Right.
And so my favorite quote was that was one pitch, and I didn't say they're all thieves, but if you're too scared to start a national dialogue, maybe I'll take my ideas home.
Right.
Because that was the one where, like, every episode, there's somewhere in there where I have to pause and go back and write down exactly the wording of a quote. And that was the one for me where I was like, Jesus Christ, BoJack.
Yeah, there's they use that humor quite a bit, and it's funny. What's funny about that kind of humor is it's like it makes you go, oh, I know what they're talking about, or like what group of people, but then you feel like the asshole for like for like knowing the stereotype, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a fucked way of telling jokes, because it kind of makes your audience feel like assholes too. Yeah. But it is what it is.
I like it. I like
I think it's funny.
Because also, like, a lot of jokes, it's like, oh, you're an asshole for making that joke, right? Where in this joke, it's almost partly like, you're an asshole for getting the joke too, like you can take me down. One. You can try to drag me down, but I'm grabbing your ankle, I'm pulling you down with me, like. Right.
No, I agree. That's one of my favorite kinds of humor, but it is kind of a double-edged sword at times. Yeah. What is that it?
Those are our categories that we have, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So the next episode that we'll be covering is season 1, episode 9, Horse Majeure.
Ooh, okay.
Horse Majeure. And it's here. I'll read the blurb just as a little teaser. A love-struck BoJack tries to sabotage a wedding. Todd accepts a surprising new professional role.
So, I'm curious what they are. What kind of? So obviously the title is a play on force majeure, and I'm curious what they are. Like if it's the clause, like the clause in a contract, or I know force majeure is also like a French way of saying like an act of God. So
is it?
Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm curious what they are. Like maybe it's both. Maybe it's both an act of God and also they're gonna do some contract shit in this next episode. But that's an interesting title.
Yeah, wait. Force majeure.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you just said horse majeure again, and I was
no.
They're
They're not. Force majeure, and they're
force majeure is a calamity that is beyond anyone's control and changes life in unpredictable ways. A tornado that devastates your town is a force majeure.
Yeah, and obviously it's also a clause in a contract. But yeah, that's a title where I'm like, sometimes you've got titles where you're like, oh, this is gonna be like you can kind of get an idea of what the episode's going to be from the title. It's not like exclusively related to BoJack, right? There's outside references there. So I'm very curious as to how that will play out. Cause I feel like it's going to not go well.
Yeah. I mean,
now that I know that it's like related to natural disasters. And they might just be doing like it in a kind of legal sense, but, but I think it's probably also a double-edged thing or a double entendre or whatever, where it's like,
right.
Yeah,
as most of the titles are. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably going to be both.
Yeah. But yeah, we only have 3 episodes left.
Are you sure? I think we have 4.
We only have 4 episodes left. This season. Yeah, it's 4. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. But yeah, Horse Majeure we'll check out next time. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching and all that jazz. We appreciate it, and we're having a blast with the show, so we're going to keep going. Sean, why don't you tell all the wonderful people out there where they can find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter, if it still exists, at Sean_AFK.
Okay, and you can follow me at SpikeGhetti Bros on Twitter. I don't remember when this episode's going up, so I can't really advertise anything. So awesome.
I think it should be going up next. You just put up episode 6, I think. So like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so the 16th. So we'll be in the middle. We'll be in the middle of our subathon when this goes up. So,
yes.
Come check us out if you're listening to this before the 18th. because we're doing our
Twitch.tv.
subathon from the 13th to the 18th, twitch.tv/Super Spaghetti Bros. And yeah, but we'll be back next week for Horse Majeure. Thank you guys so much again. Sean, you want to say the outro?
Suck a dick, dumb shits.
Bye. Thank you.